But most importantly, there are scientific studies that have been done that actually show that when a large group of people practice this transcendental meditation together, there is a change in society. There is a change even in those who don't practice transcendental meditation.
Hello, beautiful souls. You're listening to the Angels and Awakening podcast. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancis. Did you know that you can listen to this show everywhere podcasts are found? It's true. Now, I have 3 free gifts just for you. First gift, I give away a new reading each week to a person who's left a 5-star positive review of this show, then submitted it to me using the contact form at theangelmedium.com/contact. I hope I'm calling your number next. Second gift, if you'd like a new daily angel message, join me on Insta at Angel Podcast. Third free gift, if you'd like to know the name of one of your guardian angels so that you can work with them even more closely, go to the homepage of my website, theangelmedium.com, and submit your contact info at the very top. I'll email you back personally with the name of one of your angels. Okay, as we begin the show, I want you to feel the presence of your angels surrounding you. And just know that the loving, positive messages you resonate with today are messages for you from your angels and loved ones on the other side. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancis. And friends, today we have on a very, very special guest. His name is Dr. Tony Nader. And you're going to find that he has looked at the scientific, the medical perspective, but he's also the head of the TM community. And if you don't know what TM is, it's Transcendental Meditation. Dr. Tony Nader has just written a new book, which I love, love, love the title of. Consciousness is All There Is. I love the title so much because when I'm referring to God, Universe, Source, the name that just resonates the most with me is All That Is, because it is all that is. Dr. Nader, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for your beautiful show. Very inspiring to everyone, and for having me on the show.
Of course. So within the spiritual community, there's been kind of 2 forms of thought. On one side, there within the spiritual community is this thought that you're kind of supposed to relinquish all thoughts, feelings, emotions, material goods, just everything, and come back to that consciousness and unity of oneness with all that is. And then there's this other kind of school of thought where life is almost this play being enacted, and that we're all here to evolve our consciousness through this play, to learn and to grow and to experience. You are one person who just asks the big questions. So I'm going to go for it. What do you think? Why are we here?
Who we are is what helps us really define why are we here. And after doing research and checking this mind-body problem, spirituality, physicality, materiality, and the relationship between mind and body and consciousness, I came to the conclusion, based on a converging number of factors, that consciousness is primary. So consciousness is a field, and that field is unbounded, unlimited. In scientific terms, they talk about different electromagnetic field, gravitational field, and all that. And science has discovered that ultimately there is more and more unification in nature, so that even when you look at it from a physical point of view, which means you analyze the universe from its atoms, molecules, particles, etc., you come to actually fields. These fields are being more and more unified. Ultimately, the scientists feel that there is one field. Now, this idea of a field is actually the same as the idea of consciousness being a field or similar, rather than just energy field or physical field. We have a field which is consciousness. And that field is unbounded, unlimited. And all of us are that field, but some of us know it to some extent, and some of us don't know it. Some of us know it intellectually, some of us know it experientially. So that brings us to the experience that you mentioned, where the mind settles down and experiences the self as being not those specific values, thoughts, memories, feelings, etc., but experience the self as pure consciousness, pure being, which means being here, available, aware of oneself without any specificity. So we forget even our name, our specificities, our qualities, or shortcomings, and all of that. And we find that we are the field. And so the purpose of life is to continue on the path to discover that reality. And so life emerges from simple aspects that experience very little amount of consciousness and evolves through evolution to raise itself to higher and higher consciousness, ultimately discovering the true reality, which is that everything is part of the field, is an expression of the field. And so this requires a lot of analysis in terms of criticizing it from different points of view, analyzing it from points of view, and see that this is not really a dogma. It's not a belief system. It's something that can be defended in a logical way, in a scientific way, and that has powerful explanatory power, which means it explains why we are here, where we're going, what's the purpose of existence, why do we evolve, is there design or not, is it only trial and error? And so all of these factors coming together gave me the conviction that this reality of consciousness is primary and is not just the product of a human nervous system. So this is broadly the background of what I propose, but we go through very, very detailed analysis of how this can be true on a scientific level, on a spiritual level, on a daily common sense level, and it explains things that we have not been able to answer philosophically or scientifically in different aspects of life and living, freedom, determinism, whatever, bad, good, etc. So that's a big answer, long answer. I just wanted to share with you the background, which will help us maybe to discuss specifics together more in detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So people find this consciousness through TM, through various different methods. My husband and I, we've both gone through TM, and he practices religiously. I find that when I use this oneness meditation, I can get into this energy that I feel in my auric field out here. And when I do TM, I feel very, very grounded, almost as if like I'm under 30 feet of water, just kind of meditating at the bottom of the ocean. There's different feelings when you get into different types of meditations. And I know that not all people are feelers. Some people don't feel anything at all. But I think that one of the questions that I've just seen masses of people ask is, how do I know when I'm doing it right? How do I know? Am I supposed to feel something? Do some people feel nothing at all? How do they know when they're doing it right?
Transcendental meditation is very systematic, and other techniques can give different experiences. Life itself gives us experiences, relationships, what we do, love and sharing and living. All of these values give us different experiences, which actually color our consciousness. So when we say I am in love or I feel this, that means our consciousness is colored by this feeling of peace or love or harmony or expansion or whatever. All of this is lived through consciousness. So we always experience something, except, of course, when we are in deep sleep, maybe. Then the body is conscious, but it's conscious on a lower level than when we are dreaming or when we are waking. So when we are waking, we always experience something. Now, when we close the eyes and meditate, let's take transcendental meditation. And we see that, just to have an idea for those who don't know, that transcendental meditation, in transcendental meditation, we take a simple analogy that helps us understand what's happening. We say that the mind or consciousness is like an ocean. And that ocean has different levels of activities. On the surface level, it is waves and dynamic. And as you go deeper and deeper, it becomes more quiet, more calm, more calm, more calm. And the thought that comes to us comes from the inner feeling of creativity. So it comes from that bottom of the ocean, if you like the analogy, and goes up as a bubble. And then as the bubble gets to the surface, it kind of experienced as a thought. When we practice transcendental meditation, the mind settles down naturally, guided by its own nature to want more happiness, more charm, more fulfillment. And since inside is the most fulfilling value, the mind naturally goes to that inner value more and more. What happens sometimes is that we, or people who are not having specific experiences, are either releasing stress, because during transcendental meditation, stress is released, and therefore the stress brings us up to the surface of the mind, or the stress release brings us up to the surface of the mind because it's bubbling up and taking us out, or that somebody's trying to be truly correct and try to think that they have to concentrate and focus and force the mind. So transcendental meditation is a technique which doesn't require any concentration or even contemplation or even manipulation of the mind. So when you started by beautifully saying one leaves all these thoughts and memories and all of that, if we try to do it directly, if we try to do it by forcing the mind, it's not going to be as easy. What we do in transcendental meditation is we don't control the mind. And so this is a technique that allows the mind to go wherever it wants. And we give it the inward direction. And that is how it actually finds that depths that you are also talking about in the bottom of the ocean, that you beautifully expressed. And when you go beyond even the bottom of the ocean, if you like, this is when you go beyond all the relative aspects, all the surface aspects. That's why we call it transcendental. To transcend means to go beyond. And in this case, we go beyond any specificity, any value, any idea, any memory, any attachment, any feeling or anything, and go towards that transcendental state where we experience ourselves without any thought, without any mantra or any specific memory. And that is where we are within ourselves. Now, transcendence happens on different levels. Just if the mind calms down and settles down, that means we're transcending whatever was before. So we transcend the wave, then we transcend the activity on the surface below the waves, and then we transcend deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So experiences vary, and what is important is to practice correctly the technique, because if in transcendental meditation we try something and we focus on something, that prevents us from having the correct experience. So I would suggest those who are not having the experience to see a teacher, and they are always available, and to go through getting the right way to do it, the right procedure, and then it will become easy. And then these experiences get deeper and deeper and deeper with regular practice.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for that explanation. Ready for a little getaway that completely resets your energy? We're hosting a live in-person spiritual retreat called A Whole New You. It's the weekend of October 4th in Oak Brook, Illinois. This spiritual retreat is all about your own personal healing and growth, reconnecting with yourself, learning to connect with your angels. And I'm going to talk about all new angels that I've never talked about anywhere before. And you're going to leave with more personal peace, purpose, clarity, and confidence than ever before. Learn more and see the itinerary at theangelmedium.com/retreat. That's theangelmedium.com/retreat. Links are in the show notes. And friend, I cannot wait to meet you and hug you in person. So one of the questions that I wrote down is meditation and tuning into that oneness of all that is and that unity shifts a lot. But for me, it hasn't completely taken away my humanness, too. I still have that human factor. And so I was wondering for you personally, do you still have emotions, feelings, shifts, and moods that come up? And how do you manage those?
Yes, these emotions, feelings, they stay there. They always stay there, because we are human, and humanity is a wonderful thing that we have. So we deal with others, we encounter, challenges, we might encounter loss, we might encounter deceptions, and as well as success and happiness and situations that bring hope and expectations and all of that. And these all have their feelings, their quality. And that's what makes really life actually beautiful and bubbling in its differences and its modes and all of that. So these don't go away. Yet what goes away is the attachment to those and the sense of self not being lost in these situations and circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have situations and circumstances and we are just taken by them, which means we lose the sense of self, we lose our equanimity, our sense of being settled within, and are tossed around by situations and circumstances. This is when we say we are not fully liberated from the situations and circumstances and the feelings and the thoughts. So in the ancient traditions and all of that, is that it is described that those who are able to maintain equanimity in pain and in happiness, in sorrow and in joy, are really settled in the self.
Mm.
So sometimes you can feel pain and you can be overwhelmed by it. You can have something that happens, joy, and then you are also overwhelmed by it. You lose your sense of balance, your sense of, or you can be yourself and always be established in your inner peace, although maybe you will encounter physical pain or you might encounter emotions due to situations, but they don't throw you off. They don't, get you to fall apart.
Yeah.
And that's what we call becoming a master of one's life, rather than being a football of situations and circumstances. So there is always humanity, always it's beautiful to even experience something that sometimes is not as pleasant, but take it as a challenge and to surmount it and maintain the witnessing situation. It doesn't mean you're not feeling, you're not compassionate, you're not connected. You are, but you are not lost. So you have your full potential in any situation. You know, I can take an example. If you have somebody who has lost something and you want to be compassionate with them, you can sit with them and start crying with them. So you started with one person crying. Now you have two people crying. And of course, that can help and reassure. But if you can have a sense of encouragement, of bringing hope, of guiding the person towards higher values, of showing how one can overcome the loss and one can go to a more profound value and show how life is bigger, and bring happiness and strength to the situation, that is much more compassionate and much more giving than just sitting and crying with the other person.
That's beautiful. Similarly, do you have negative thoughts, and what tools do you use to manage fear-based or negative thoughts?
Well, thoughts will come depending on situations and circumstances. It's I like not maybe to talk about myself in that sense, but but thoughts do come. They can be considered negative, but maybe they're not. Sometimes somebody does something wrong,
Sure.
and there is good and bad, and there is something wrong. And what is negative thought is to have a thought maybe that is to correct that person or to guide them in the right direction. Is this a negative thought, or a negative thought is like a destructive thought, a thought that is a sort of undue jealousy or hatred for no reason, or wanting to create harm and all of that. And these disappear. This kind of thought disappears. So the thought that is not, I would say, evolutionary disappears because you are established in that field, which is what we call field of being, field of consciousness. And there everything is evolutionary. Now, what is evolutionary can appear to somebody else as negative thought. Like a child who has their hands dirty and they have mud on their hands and it's drying and all of that. And then you want to help them, you want to clean up that dirt. But if it's too sticky or something like that, it might hurt a little bit. And then you still, if it's your child, you still want to do it. So the child, from their perception, you are causing them pain. Or the doctor, trying to remove an abscess or trying to cure something, might have to do something that can be of a type that creates some harm or pain on the surface level. But the purpose is all good and it has to be done. And so, in that way, it depends on your perception of the perspective of what you see, on from which level of awareness you are approaching the subject and the situation, and what is your, aim, and not only aim in terms of having good intention, but what does your action do? Does it help or does it hurt? So good and bad and negative and positive thoughts are kind of relative in the sense, that you can have some good, but you can have more good and higher good and higher good. And when you are sitting on the highest good, maybe you look down to the other good and they seem less good, so they can be called bad, or they can be less good and less good and less good, to the point where there, no question that they are not good at all, and like that. So it's all really a relative situation, depends on the consciousness of the individual and their awareness, their intention, and their action to bring something positive in life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. I keep saying that, but it's so true. I love the way that you phrase everything. I've heard you say before that we're all a consciousness housed within this physical body, and we all are going through our lives just with this consciousness that we interact with every single day, that we're witnessing and watching, and that consciousness within us all really brings us into a unity of oneness within one another. And I thought that that is just such a, again, just beautiful way to help the world understand that oneness. Do you feel that when we're meditating every day and really keeping with our spiritual practice of getting into that unity and oneness energy, that we can help bring peace to the world?
Absolutely. And this had theoretical level of understanding and belief that it can happen. But most importantly, there are scientific studies that have been done that actually show that when a large group of people practice this transcendental meditation together, there is a change in society. There is a change even in those who don't practice transcendental meditation. So when you reach a certain critical number of people that practice transcending, and they go there and they experience that, they enliven the field in nature, in the environment, and the environment becomes more quiet, more peaceful, more harmonious, less stress is felt, and people then elect to do the right things, elect to be harmonious and to be peaceful and to not do violence or not do crime and all of that. And there are 116 research studies that have been done on exactly this phenomenon that shows when a square root of 1% of the people, or square root of 1% of the people in a city practice this program together, the advanced program of transcendental meditation, which we call the siddhis. This is the techniques that come from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the ancient yoga, but it's a yoga of the mind. And when you practice those techniques together, the square root of 1% of the population is enough to create the effect. So for the whole world, for example, all we need is 9,000 people. But they have to be practicing this together in the same place at the same time, regularly, morning and evening. And so we have demonstrated the effectiveness of these techniques and have found the relationship between what is needed, what is the critical number that is needed in order to create those social effects. At the beginning, it was just transcendental meditation without its advanced techniques. And it was 1% that was required. And so this 1% was predicted by the founder of transcendental meditation, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And so we have tended to call it the Maharishi effect. Now, this is on the real experience and direct results level. But on the level of understanding also, it is very, very profound and very clear how it works and why it works. You see, when you have an ocean and there are many, many waves, and if the waves are separate, which they are on the surface, and one is only on one wave and another wave is coming, you can think that there is a possibility of fighting between the waves. But when every wave realizes that it is the ocean, and realizes this not only intellectually, but directly through direct experience, then naturally and spontaneously, one starts feeling that unity with the others. So it is not a contrived unity that one has to force oneself and look at it as a belief, and you have to believe in it no matter what. It's a unity that arises from direct experience. And in a spontaneous way, the persons and each other start finding that unity and start dealing with others as if they are oneself. We also take an example, of the tree and the sap, or the flowers and the sap. There is the field, and there are the roots of a tree. And these roots, they take the nutrients from the field, and they take it, it becomes the sap, what we call the sap of a tree. And the sap, which can really ultimately be colorless, can become the different colors, the different shapes, the hardness of the trunk, the softness of the flower, the richness and sweetness of the fruit, and the different branches and all of that. So all of these, they constitute one tree, and yet it's all the sap. It's all the sap. And these parts, they don't get angry with each other or jealous with each other. They support each other. See, the leaf cannot say, oh, the flower is so beautiful and I'm not, the same as the flower, and so I have to be angry with the flower. It's part of one's nature. And what we judge is that we are all the sap. That is really independent of our gender, our color, our profession, our background, our situation. Ultimately, we are all the sap of life. And that sap is consciousness. It's pure consciousness. It's the ocean. It's the field. And that field is creating the waves. That field is creating the trees and the branches and the flowers. And we rejoice in the differences. We rejoice in the creativity of nature and having so many ways of experiencing and being the self. So what we need to know is know ourselves, and then the rest is coming naturally to us. And peace can dawn when we have this profound understanding and
I love it.
experience.
Yes, yes. So I've gotten to experience consciousness through that oneness meditation through TM. And I like to not just have like a spiritual practice in the morning and at evening. I like to carry that energy and live in that energy 24/7 as much as possible. When you're in it, how do you explain it? And I wonder if you go into this in the book. What is consciousness itself?
Yeah, it's all described in the book. What is consciousness? From where it comes, how it comes, does it have a beginning? Does it have an end? Is it eternal? It is beyond time and space. And how does it manifest? Why does it manifest itself as the different values? And why there is evolution in life? Where do we start? There is the Big Bang, and then we have particles, and then atoms and molecules, and then the evolution of planets and life and living and cells and animals and plants and humans. Why is all this, and why consciousness, which is all there is? That is the title of the book. Why and how can it manifest as the physicality of the world and the reality of the world? And why does it do that? And what is the implications of that? So consciousness, in simple definition from the paradigm that I present, is a field. And a field, the easiest way to really have a feeling about it is like an ocean. But that ocean is unlimited in its space and time. There is, let's say, the electromagnetic field. So we are sitting here and we see each other, and we feel as if there is nothing between us in terms of separation. That's how we identify ourselves as an individual. But our ability to see each other is because there is light that strikes on, let's say, my face and travels to the camera. and then it goes through to a different place and then gets reproduced. And then you're looking at the screen and you see the screen and light comes to you. So there is a direct connection. Now, you don't see it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, you don't see the field, but you actually are seeing the field, because what you are seeing is the field. And therefore, which field you are seeing? You are seeing the electromagnetic field when you see something. And so electromagnetism and a field is like the ocean. So we have an ocean connecting us all. And if we are seeing, it's the waves of the ocean that we see. If we are hearing, it's a different vibration of the molecules in the air. If we are smelling, it's a different molecules that come to us like that. But all of these, and science has shown that all particles, that all matter, that all things are actually fields that appear as specific values. So that's what a field is. Now, consciousness is a field which is not material, which is not physical. It's not just some kind of energy or something. It's beyond that. And it's unbounded, unlimited, as the fields usually are. Electromagnetic fields spread throughout the universe. And gravitational fields or gravitational space-time, curvature and all that is everywhere, is unbounded, is unlimited. And so if you look deeper into nature, you find there are more and more unified fields, ultimately one field. And we are saying this field is a field of consciousness. So consciousness is primary. Consciousness is then experienced through our human nature and physiology, which is also consciousness, but just to make a simple analogy, is then experienced in different ways. So we come now to just the surface level of what is my consciousness as a human being. My consciousness is what allows me to be aware, what allows me to feel. So feeling, being aware of something, seeing, experiencing are all colors of consciousness. When you say, I am in love, and you feel love, what you're feeling love. What does it mean? It means your awareness has the color of love, is colored by this feeling. And that means it's consciousness from different colors, different shades of its own reality. Otherwise, to understand consciousness, sometimes you have to say, imagine things without consciousness. When you are sleeping, that's the closest thing we can have to the knowledge of, what is it to be without consciousness. Also anesthesia, for example, or people going into coma, then you don't have consciousness. So when you don't have consciousness, do you feel love? Do you feel happy? Do you feel sad? Do you feel rich or poor? Or do you feel anything? You might be the wealthiest person in the universe. And if you don't have consciousness, you don't experience anything. There is nothing that has any meaning, that has any sense. So consciousness is life. It's all that there is. We live our lives through consciousness. And so that is why scientists now, in the past 20, 30 years, are pouring their intelligence and their ideas to study what is this consciousness? Where does it come from? Maybe it's produced by the brain. Maybe it is something else. Maybe it's a field that the brain then experiences rather than it is a product of the brain. See, in this case, I usually take the example of a radio or a receiver, a phone or something. When you turn your phone off, or now when we are seeing each other, you think that is it the television and the computer that is creating us? No, we are there.
Yeah.
It's just a machine that detects, that senses. So if you're listening to music, it's not truly the radio producing the music. The music is there in the air. But the radio is able of detecting, of sensing the music and reproducing it in a way that is sound, and then you hear the music. But the electromagnetic waves that are in the ocean of electromagnetism, in the field of electromagnetism, are there whether the radio is there or the radio is not there. So that's why we say consciousness is not that dependent on a physical apparatus that has to detect it, but it is experienced in different ways by the different apparatus. So if you have a radio, you hear the sound. If you have a television, you can see the sound and the picture, and then you have all of these values. So again, to be more complete, I'd like to give another analogy which can help us also. See, there is a movie, and the movie, where does it happen? It happens on a screen. We forget the screen usually because we are taken by the movie that is going on. Mm-hmm. Now, imagine if there is no screen, where is the movie? So consciousness is also, it's not only, but it's also like the screen on which the movie of life is being played. And the clearer your consciousness is, the better your screen is, the better the picture that comes. You can have very high definition screens. You can have very powerful, ability to feel and adjust and take the picture and make it bright and the sound is clear and nice. Or you can have an old screen which is wrinkled or, has dust in it or not working well, and you get this noise on it. So your consciousness is what sees life and experiences it and can see it from different perspectives based on how wide your awareness is, how big your screen is. If your screen is tiny and the movie is very big, you will see only one little corner of the movie. You won't understand what's going on. And that is why consciousness is a very practical thing. So the book, Consciousness is All There Is, explains the importance and how to expand consciousness so that your screen can see the entire movie, and then you are reassured, and then you feel happiness and you feel peace with others and all that, because you have a broad comprehension and you see the relationship and you understand the universe much more deeply and completely, rather than have a narrow vision. This is my thing and this thing, even my brother, my sister, my friend is, they are different, and I can have, be afraid of them, they're going to take something from me, and all of that. Narrowness of vision is not helpful for full expansion of life.
You said something before. Why does it manifest? Why does consciousness manifest? And is it as simple to say that conscious manifests in order to be aware of itself? Because if it's all that is and all there is, then has it gotten bored, right? Like, does it just want to experience?
This is a very big and very powerful philosophical and existential question, actually. And philosophers have been discussing this point, and scientists also, but scientists feel like we don't want to get into that. It's part of philosophy or belief, and so they left it behind. But we have to face that question, and we have to answer it. And that's what I really go deep into the book about it also. There is part of the book that describes this reason. So in brief, if we want to understand that, we can say there is an unbounded field of consciousness. And this unbounded field of consciousness has a nature. We're calling it consciousness. So what is its nature? Its nature is to be conscious, because that's why we're calling it consciousness. And so we're calling it consciousness because its nature, its tendency is to be conscious. And since it is unbounded, it has to be conscious in all possible ways. Now, there are a few steps of logic between what I just said and coming to that, but it takes time to explain them. They are elaborated clearly in the book. But the bottom line is this field wants to be conscious in every possible way, but it has the perspective of unboundedness because it is the ocean and it knows itself to be the ocean and it knows everything is itself. So its experience is from the perspective of unboundedness, unlimited, infinite, wholeness. It experiences itself and it lives in that fullness. Now, the question comes, why does it manifest? But before that, let's say, what is it that it does not know? So that's a key question. What is it that it does not know? Because its nature is to know, is to experience, is to be conscious in every possible way, right? We have come to that point that its nature is to know from every possible way. Now, if it remained only that unbounded ocean, it is knowing from the unbounded perspective, unlimited perspective. It knows everything. It looks at everything. Everything is in it. We are all in it. You are in it. I am in it, because it has imagination and it has concept of possibilities. We are all in it, but we are only experienced from that unbounded field. Now, what is it that it does not experience at this stage? What is it that it does not know at that moment, at that stage, if we like to call it a stage? What it doesn't know is what it is like to experience reality or to experience consciousness itself from the perspective of Julie or Tony, or from the perspective of cat, or from a perspective of a dog. What it is like to experience things from a perspective of a tree. What does the tree experience? So I can imagine a tree, if I am an author that wants to write a fiction book, I can imagine unicorns, I can imagine Aphrodite and Zeus, and I can imagine different divine beings and different kinds of monsters or dragons or animals, and I can imagine some fantastic people and some fantastic creation and angels or whatever. I can write a book about it, make a movie about it. I can imagine everything, but I'm imagining from my point of view what it is like to be actually those characters. What it is like to be characters, I don't know. I will know only when I put myself in their shoes. What does it mean? It means I have to forget, in a sense, my fullness, hide it, and put myself in the limited perspective. So we are those limited perspectives. The universe is those limited perspectives. We are still the field, we are still consciousness, but it's hiding within us to different extent. And that is how it can know from those limited perspectives. And so that really gives a logical understanding of how and why. And there are many other factors that come in to support the idea and to explain then what is the purpose of life, why we, what should be the sequence, what is the evolution, and all of that. And so these are part of the whole complete paradigm and understanding of reality and its essence and why it is there and how it evolves.
So when I was a little girl, I had a great upbringing on one part and a really rough upbringing on a different part. And I felt the need to be older faster, right? So when we would have family parties, I would never be off running around with the kids. From what I can remember, I would always be in the kitchen listening to all of the adults talk because I wanted to know what I didn't know, to grow and to learn and to not make the mistakes that I was seeing other people and adults making around me. And um that continued into my 20s, into my early 30s, and I would find myself often getting frustrated with myself because I wanted my consciousness to expand and to grow and to evolve faster. But what I was left with is that I'm just me and that I can only evolve at the pace at which I'm aware of everything going on around me and spend time with it. Have you found any other way that you make your consciousness evolve faster?
You know, I sympathize with you because I've had somewhat similar experiences, and I went into medicine to try to understand what happens, why the body and the mind function, how they function. And I found, you know, it's a vocation, it's a wonderful thing. Then went into the study of the brain and psychiatry and neuroscience and did research on it. All of this in the same search as you are really saying. And we all try in different ways. And this was my way of trying. And that's what ultimately opened my awareness to the fact that we can do it and expand our awareness directly. And I was lucky to find transcendental meditation. And it gave me that sense of true experience and expanding my awareness and expanding my consciousness. And ultimately knowing that I am that ocean. And that is something that spontaneously happens. It broadens your awareness. It gives you answers on an intellectual level, but based on also the direct experience of the self. You see yourself transcending, going beyond limitations. You come out of this fresh, and this freshness and stability and inner well-being stays with you more and more during the day. This brings us back to a point that you have made before about wanting this to stay with you, not just a moment of experience. And that's the whole idea. The whole idea is not just to have one moment of feeling good and then going out and feeling terrible and all of that. You know, when you dive into that ocean, it kind of, the color of that ocean starts sticking with you. And because whatever we expose ourselves to takes more importance and becomes bigger in our life. Because if you repeatedly see the same things, those things are going to impress on you more. So what transcending does, it colors your consciousness and expands it. And then even when you are acting in a very focused relative way and looking at specific values in the outside, you have this stability that is established on the inside that is really a reservoir of creativity and intelligence. It broadens your awareness, and you are able to meet situations and circumstances and see them with a bigger perspective, and therefore deal with them better and enjoy them more. So there is greater happiness in activity, greater happiness in creativity, in fulfillment on the level of achievement that we have, because our thought process is now based on deeper knowledge, which is the knowledge of the self and broader comprehension. So there is a saying in this ancient literature from which this knowledge comes, that it says, know that by knowing which, everything is known in a sense. So if you know yourself, and we know this is a dictum from all traditions, that knowing the self, going back to the self is very important. And that is really very fundamental to get our expansion of consciousness happen. So my experience, my advice, my suggestion is dive deep within. And then when you go out to check the things, they will have more meaning to you and they will be more enjoyable. And there is one thing you really need to know is first know yourself, and then all else will be added onto you, if you like.
One last question I have for you is What happens to Dr. Tony Nader's consciousness when you're 150 years old, hopefully, and you cross to the other side one day? What do you think happens to your consciousness?
What happens to unconsciousness is based on where we are at the time of dropping the body. And whatever we have done through our life and achieved and learned, is not lost because it's all a process of consciousness continuing.
Mhm.
And therefore, if one is fully enlightened and having reached a point where one knows everything is the self, one merges with that self. And, that is the supreme experience of oneness, of being, of wholeness, of unity. That is the highest level of bliss and happiness and all of that. Many traditions call it heavenly life or life of continuous wellness and all of that. Otherwise, we can have different belief systems that believe in different places you go in order to get purified or places to go in order to be punished and all of that. And this, we don't want to go too much into that because it's a belief system. If you
Mhm.
want to know my opinion personally,
Yeah.
and this is not
Yes.
part of the Transcendental Meditation program, it's kind of a personal feeling. And I usually take the example, it just came to me, this example. When people buy a game, a video game, let's say, you buy your video game and suppose it's a shooting game, okay? We don't want shooting, but whatever, it's a game. And it illustrates the point. So you play the game, and then at the beginning, by the time you make a few steps, somebody shoots you and you're done. You go. Okay, now suppose the game ends here. Would anybody buy the game?
No.
Nobody would want to buy the game. So what you do is you reboot. You have learned what happens, from where these guys are coming or whatever. And now next time you do better. But
Mhm.
at the end, you also get shot, and then the game has to start over again. And like this, it starts over and over and over again until you master the game. And then you are invincible and you understand the reality and you have this wonderful experience. And as you go along, that brings you satisfaction and happiness and growth and all of that
Mhm.
because you are experiencing more, you are knowing more, and all of that. And so my feeling is that depending where you are in the game, it doesn't matter, you come back, but what you have learned, you're not going to forget. It's going to be there with you on some subtle level. And then from there you continue, and from there you continue, and from there you continue until you are a master of the game.
I love it. Oh, Dr. Tony Nader, thank you so much for being here with us on the show. I so appreciate you. Your book, Consciousness is All There Is. Did I see that that comes out August 14th?
August 6th, actually, it comes
August
August
6th.
6th. It's
Perfect.
on all the, Amazon and Barnes and Noble and other places. So I invite you to to read it, and it has a potential to change our thinking about the world, our decision making, conflicts, how to resolve them, and all of that. So it covers broad perspective. That's why I'm passionate to have it out. It's my life experience, and I want to share it for everyone to enjoy.
Well, you're one
Uh,
of the most fascinating people I've ever met, and I've had a lot of people on the podcast, but you've done work over at MIT. You've studied, like you said, to your point, just medicine and psychology and meditation and everything. And you've had conversations with some of, the world renowned thinkers of our time, most of the world renowned thinkers of our time. And so this book, I think, is a very, very powerful resource. And what you said before gives me a lot of hope that We only need 9,000 people within the world to be practicing in order to raise the consciousness and to create peace within this world, which is a prayer that I say every single day. And I know a lot of people out there do too, like yourself. And so thank you for your time and thank you for your work in this world.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you. And you are one of those great people that I am honored to have a discussion with.
Oh, thank you. And Dr. Nader, we'll put your information in the show notes below, but where can everybody find your book, TM, and just everything that you do?
We have a website called tm.org. We have a university, Maharishi International University in Iowa. I have a website myself. It's called drtonynader.com. You can buy the book also there. We have set a special place for the book is drnaderbooks.com. And if you Google it, or you can go directly to the booksellers, Amazon and all that, it's already available as a pre-sale. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to to show the book and what it has.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's a must read, one of my top must reads for this year of 2024. So thank you so much and have a beautiful, blessed day.
Thank you, Julie. You're wonderful. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Friends, I need your help reaching as many people as possible. If you'd like to support this podcast and help us spread more hope to the world, please book a session with me, join my angel membership, or take my angel Reiki school. What's the difference? If you'd like to know what messages your angels and loved ones have for you, you'll want to book a session with me. The angel membership is all about your own personal spiritual healing. The membership takes you on a spiritual journey that teaches you how to create your own heaven on earth. And the Angel Reiki School is for those who want to get certified in mediumship, angel messages, and energy healing all at once. These are 3 ways you can help us share a message of hope and love with more people than ever before. Register for one or all 3 at theangelmedium.com. That's theangelmedium.com. Now, let's pray together. As we do, I want you to pray in a way where you feel as though everything you want for yourself and the world has already come true, and you're giving thanks. Why? Because this is the best way to manifest. So let's begin. God, universe, source, thank you. We're so grateful that you've blessed this world with calm and peace for all. This calm and peace has spread like ripples, soothing the hearts of every soul. Thank you for opening our hearts to abundance, allowing each of us to live our most authentic life, and helping us to create our own heaven on earth. We thank you for the love and deep heart-to-heart connection that surrounds us every day in our relationships. We thank you for the abundance of health and aliveness we feel radiating from every cell in our and our families' bodies. Thank you for the gift of walking this life with us and guiding us every step of the way through your messages. We hear you through our own intuition, and we feel you walking right by our sides, and we overflow with gratitude. Thank you for financial abundance, an abundance of opportunities and miracles, blessings, and prosperity in every way. We know that you want us to succeed so that we can show others how you want them to succeed too. Thank you for the boundless love, kindness, empathy, and compassion that binds us all together. Thank you for the laughter, fun, moments of pure delight that fill us every day, especially today. God, universe, source, thank you for blessing us beyond measure and allowing us to use our souls, gifts, talents, skills, and abilities to serve the world. We love you. I love you. And in this we pray. Amen. Friends, we're working on some pretty major things over here. And if you wouldn't mind saying a little prayer that these things come to fruition if they're God's will. We'd so appreciate it. And please add a little prayer in for any specific thing you need right now, too. Have a beautiful, blessed day. And don't forget to submit your contact info at theangelmedium.com if you'd like me to channel the name of one of your angels for you. Sending you peace, bliss, and many blessings.